Hello and welcome back to Aledius Sports Talk. I am your host, Enrique Aledius. Tonight we have the Vikings going up against the Philadelphia Eagles. I think this matchup's going to be a good one. I think it's going to be interesting. I think it's going to be a lot more interesting than it looked like it was going to be at the beginning of the season, especially after what happened at week one. Both the Vikings and the Eagles, they had great seasons last year, but, like last week, Vikings, they lose to the Bucks with Baker Mayfield, which was very surprising. And Jalen Hurts and the Eagles, they barely escaped the Patriots in the Tom Brady game, basically. But I didn't really think that Jalen Hurts played his best game. I don't think the Eagles played their best game. And again, it's only week one, but you're coming off of a Super Bowl game last year, and you're going up against the Patriots, who, I mean, give them credit. They didn't look... They showed some fight. I think initially they looked pretty bad in the first half, and then they got things rolling a little bit. But that game was, I think, a little too close than what it should have been if you were an Eagles fan. So should be interesting to see how this game shakes out. And again, with the Vikings, I mean, like I thought the Bucks were going to be terrible this year, so they proved to be maybe better than people thought they were going to be. I mean, I thought they were going to be terrible. And look, you got to give credit. Baker played how he needed to at least play for them to get the win. And, he got Mike Evans. I'm a Brady fan, so, I've watched a lot of the Buccaneers over the past couple of years. And Mike Evans is a dog. So, that was a pretty good game by him, Godwin, and all of them, and all those guys there. But Evans didn't, re-sign, or so. We'll see what happens with him moving forward. But with the Vikings, though, I mean, that's the thing with them. They're just they're hard to figure out, right? Because sometimes you look at them and they not like sometimes the luckiest team, or not luckiest, but like they pull off these comeback wins and things just work for them. So maybe luck is not the good word there, but like they put themselves in a position to get those bounces and breaks, and then they just end up, working their ass off to get back in the game, and then they can pull it off. But then there's some games where you're like, who the fuck are we watching, right? And some games they just don't look like the team that came back against the Colts, 36 points or whatever, 33 points down. So we'll see which kind of Vikings team shows up. I mean, I am a fan of O'Connell. I really like what he brought last year to the Vikings, and how he's changed just the way that they have that culture in that locker room. And they also, they really believe that they can, be a contender. And you have Kirk Cousins there, who, I mean, especially after watching quarterback, he's such a good dude. And I'm a fan of Kirk. I think, he gets a lot of not necessary hate, but like he doesn't get as much credit as I think he deserves, because for whatever the reason, right? I mean, everyone focused on Justin Jefferson, which respectfully you got to. I mean, a lot of credit does go to Jefferson and the success of the Vikings and Dalvin Cook, who now is with the Jets. But I think Cousins is someone that it's easy to kind of look at him and just kind of take him down a peg or two, because he's not as, not exactly on the same level as Burrow or Mahomes and Allen and all them, and or Jalen Hurts even. But I think if you just look at how he plays, and especially watching him for a long time now and how he's progressed in his career, I think he's gotten a lot better. And personally, I think he's a really, really good quarterback in this league, and I think he definitely deserves a lot of the credit for the success the Vikings had, especially last season too. But yeah, I mean, but he isn't perfect. He's definitely not perfect, and he's still someone who I can understand why people who don't have as much confidence in him to really lead the Vikings into a Super Bowl or even deep in the playoffs. I can understand that, but I mean, I personally am a fan of Cousins. I think he's a cool dude, funny dude. We'll see how they do in this game. I think for me, starting off with the Eagles, I think I'm looking at how Sirianni is going to be how is he going to shape the identity of the Eagles this year, right? And that's something that, last year they were really a run heavy team, starting with Jalen Hurts, and just the way that they play, the offensive line was awesome and incredible. You know, Jalen Hurts using his legs is such a huge advantage for the Eagles that not a lot of other teams get to have. I mean, of course, you got the Mahomes and Allen runs the ball, Lamar, things, and a couple other quarterbacks are able to be mobile. But for the most part, you don't really have the level of that run game that you do with Jalen Hurts. But also, and that's the knock on him, right? It's like, can he throw the ball, and can he throw it far? Can he throw it accurately? We'll see. I mean, I thought he did a really good job. So especially towards in the run in the playoffs there, I thought he did a really good job of not just being mobile, but also throwing the ball, and his accuracy, again, not perfect. He's not exactly like Aaron Rodgers with his accuracy, but I definitely think he, again, also is another guy who doesn't get as much credit as I think he should deserve on his ability to move the ball, and as instead of just being known as like, well, he's the guy that runs the ball, and he's like the Lamar-esque kind of quarterback. I think he is a more complete quarterback than people want to give him credit for. I watched him since he was in Alabama. I was a huge fan of what he did there in college. So I was always a big fan of Jalen Hurts. I personally felt like the other team should have went for him earlier on. So we'll see, how he improves his throwing game as his career progresses. But again, for now, I really feel like I'm a huge fan of Jalen Hurts. Definitely love his work ethic. He's a guy that, you can tell he really, he's just all in, and he has such a good head on his shoulders, that he has such a good mindset and state of mind for the game. So I think that that's really something to look at there. But yeah, I mean, this year we'll see how they do in terms of how are they going to strategize as a team against certain defenses, and are they going to rely as much on Jalen on the run game? Last week, Kenneth Gainwell, he only rushed for 54 yards. Wasn't that much. Wasn't much happening in the run game in general, but again, it's only week one, so I don't know how much you could really take that as an indicator for how things are going to turn out. But we'll see how it goes. And it was a good game last week from AJ Brown. He had 79 yards. Devontae Smith got a touchdown. I think this week for them to get success, I just think that they're going to need a bit more production from other guys. Need more production from Devontae Smith for sure. Watkins maybe can chime in there as well. I do think they have a good chance to beat the Vikings as long as they can put pressure on Kirk Cousins. Jalen Hurts can really extend drives by, using his legs. And then again, it's like that accuracy thing, just be able to hit his targets, hit his receivers. Don't need the long ball all the time, and don't need the fancy plays. Just work your way down the field. And I feel like they could have a good chance of just not only getting some points on the Vikings, but just maintaining that possession. Because I think the Vikings are a team that if you give them too many possessions and too many, give Kirk Cousins too many drives, he's going to come up with a bunch of touchdowns with the weapons that he has. Right? You don't want to play roulette with him, or Russian roulette with him with giving him so many opportunities, when I just think the Vikings on the offensive side have so many good receiving weapons there. So I don't know if the Eagles want to kind of roll the dice with that. So keep possession and try to have Hurts extend the drives with his legs. I think my opinion would be key. And of course the weapons with AJ Brown, Devontae Smith, and Quez Watkins in the short yardage play. So we'll see how it goes. I think that would be a good key for them in terms of success on the Eagles side. On the Vikings side, I feel like it's a bit of a question mark on just how they'll do. Again, coming off of a tough game against the Bucs, and just I don't think that's how they wanted to come out. If anything, I think them coming out that way probably is going to light a fire under their ass, and they're not going to want to, keep that lingering and keep that style of play lingering. I think they're just going to be able to just, hey, let's flush that game. Let's learn from whatever we did wrong there. They didn't come out with the same level of tenacity or, level of grit that they should have came out with. But I think if Kirk Cousins can just hold on, not give the ball up, don't make some quick some quick plays or some emotional plays that could put them in a position to get intercepted or whatever. Like, don't make some plays that, if Kirk Cousins could just, stick to the game plan and not make like bad passes. It just, let's not be reckless with the ball. Let's try to, go through your progressions, and if there's nothing there, throw the ball away. I think Kirk sometimes, tries to look for things and make plays that aren't always there, and that ends up sometimes as turnovers. So that could be a rough go if they fall into that. But again, I think like last week they just came out flat, right? They came out flat against the Bucs, and a team that they should have beat by all accounts. They should have beat them, right? And I think they should have beaten them badly. And again, nothing taken away from Baker and the Bucs and all them, but like, the Vikings were one of the best teams in the NFL last year, especially towards the end of it all, where they had a really that good run. They should have steamrolled the Bucs that game going into the season. We'll see how they come out this game. I think they have a good chance if they protect the ball, and if Kirk Cousins can be on point with his accuracy, hitting his receivers. The run game, I don't know if it really is there for the Vikings this year. They lose Dalvin Cook. Madison didn't really get that many run or get me yards on the run game and the rushing game there. I think they less than 100 or less than 80 yards rushing, I think, by Madison. So I don't know if they could rely on the run game. I think they're going to have to throw the ball more, which again, that could result in interceptions. We know Kirk Cousins sometimes can have those games where he'll throw multiple interceptions in a game, and maybe he just has to really not force plays and just kind of take what the defense gives him and work his way down the field. He's got great target. He's got Justin Jefferson, Addison, Hawkinson, Osborne. He's got so many of these guys that are such good targets for Cousins that, like, if Kirk just makes sure that he does not fumble the ball and make bad passes or puts his receivers in position, in bad positions, and maybe throws an interception, make sure he avoids those things. Again, I think this game between the two teams, ball possession is going to be huge. Who can hang on to the ball the longest, who can have possession longer, and also keeping the other team away from giving the other team less drives and chances of really scoring, because both these teams, I think, they have that explosive just offense where, at the drop of a dime, you could just they could really ball on you and score, right? They could just really get it rolling out of nowhere and explode with offense. So that's something to watch out for. I think the big thing for me with the Vikings, though, is going to be how Kirk Cousins plays. I mean, if you look at last game, he threw for 344 yards, 2 touchdowns. He did have an interception, but it's pretty surprising when you lose a game, but you threw for 344 yards, 2 touchdowns, and you have the weapons that you have, again, with Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, T. Hawkinson, all those guys. To me, that it's a very interesting situation that happened last week against the Bucs. But again, that they could use that as a way to say, let's not let that linger. Let's try to push through and get a strong win against the Eagles, against a great team like the Eagles. So we'll see what Kevin O'Connell and Kirk Cousins and the Vikings have for everybody. But for me, I think overall, I would say it's a tough one. I feel like I'd say this game, it might go to the Eagles. I just think that Sirianni and the Eagles will turn this around and let's not forget, right? That run they had last year and just the culture that Sirianni has brought to the Eagles. I think he's going to keep them in line, and they as a team know that they have to play better. They came away barely with a win last week against the Patriots. There's that there's still that lingering feeling of the post Super Bowl with Jalen Hurts, and not that that's really the major story at all, but it's just one of those where these guys they know that they have to get their game back together, in my opinion. I think that Sirianni and the boys are going to turn it around. I don't think it's going to be easy. I don't think they're going to roll over the Vikings. I think the Vikings, if anything, they're going to keep the game close. And I wouldn't be surprised if they pull out a win. I really wouldn't. But if I had to pick a team, I'm going to go with the Eagles on this one. So should be a fun game. Thursday Night Football, first Thursday Night Football of the year, Amazon Prime. Again, after all the stinkers last year, let's hope that this one is actually a fun and entertaining game. So we'll see how it turns out.